Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their December 1st, 2014 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 4B, Public Works Department Monthly Report. And to give the background information on this agenda item is Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As always, my pleasure to be here with you this evening presenting the November 2014 Public Works Monthly Report. And unfortunately, we will be talking about snow even though it's the November report. But first, I'll get started talking about a few project updates. The first one is our 5060 roundabout project. You can see in the photos on the right-hand side of the screen, that's some of the work going on at the 5060 roundabout. What you see there are footings that were placed and retaining walls being constructed on either side of Kenwood Trail, which is north of 185th Street. We're hoping to complete those, or I should say the contractor is hoping to complete those retaining walls yet this year, and then they'll be on hiatus over the remainder of the winter and begin the work again in the spring, of course, on that project. We're also doing, and the contractor is also completing pond construction on the northwest corner of that intersection as well, just down near the railroad tracks. I'm sure you've all seen some of that excavation work that's going on. As a reminder to everyone in the audience and listening, project updates can be found on our website. By visiting our website, you'll be directed through a link to the Dakota County's website, and you can receive current project updates, and you can also sign up for a county listserv there as well. The other project I wanted to note on the slides on the left is for our traffic signal project along Ipava Avenue, both at 175th Street and 165th Street. That work is underway. You can see by those pictures, crews have been doing some hydro excavating and boring to place conduit under the street at those locations. That conduit's necessary, of course, to carry the cabling in between the traffic signals, and the traffic signal installation is planned for early spring of 2015. Home demolition, as the council's aware, we acquired some houses as part of future right-of-way acquisition for our 2017 project of the reconstruction of County Road 50 or Kenwood Trail, and our 2016 project of Dodd Boulevard or County Road 9. These houses were at 19920 Kenwood Trail and 19348 Dodd Boulevard. And what you see here is crews completing the initial demolition work, which is the hazardous materials abatement. You can see everything bagged up there. Anything that contained asbestos or other hazardous materials needs to be removed before the homes are actually demolished. Also, both of the houses had private wells, and both of those wells have been sealed and abandoned. So lastly, snow and ice control. In the month of November, we had we had 9 snow and ice control events. The events primarily were de-icing events. However, as the council is aware and everyone else watching, we did have a little bit more significant snow right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Our crews applied in excess of about 800 tons of de-icing chemicals. And just a reminder for everyone, the city uses 2 different types of de-icing chemicals. So when you see the trucks around, for instance, in these photos, you see it's more of a white material that's just straight road salt, which works down to about 15 degrees. Then we also used an enhanced de-icer, which is a blue in color, and that works at temperatures 15 degrees and below, and that's treated with the chemical magnesium chloride. The enhanced de-icer, for that reason, when it's a little colder, it actually flows out of the trucks a little better and stays on the crown of the road a little better, which helps, of course, to promote that de-icing a little more rapidly. Application rates when we apply de-icer on city streets can be as much as 250 pounds per lane mile, but that's in the most severe conditions. We typically try to do something significantly less than that to make sure that we're efficiently using all of our de-icing chemicals. And it's also important to note all of our city plows do have technology on board that actually delivers the appropriate rate of de-icing chemicals, and they're not manually controlled. They're set by the operator, and they're consistently applied throughout the route. With that, that concludes the monthly report for November 2014. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, Truth in Taxation Public Hearing. And to provide the background information regarding this agenda item is Finance Director Dennis Feller.
The 2015 budget is $24.9 million. That was adopted in September. That's a $1.3 million increase, which is a 5.5% increase. The City Council, however, has met numerous times over the past several months. And as a result of those meetings, has directed that the budget, the tax levy, be reduced by $230,000. As such, the proposed levy that we'll talk about tonight is $24.7 million. And that's a $1,070,000 increase, which is 4.5%. That 4.5% is broken into two major components. The first major component is for operations, which is about 2.5%. And there's a number of factors which are affecting the tax levy. Some of them are actually holding the tax levy down, and they include refinancing of debt, the final payment of the 1994 park bonds, expiration of 3 tax increment districts, and efficiencies in operations. And to give you an example of some of those efficiencies, it's such things as hiring staff rather than using consultants for the street reconstruction projects. It's such things as implementing automated equipment which go onto the snowplow trucks, which will measure the chemical, which Mr. Petrie talked about a few minutes ago, and hopefully reduce costs. It's such things as investing in technology to improve efficiencies. There's a number of factors that are causing upward pressure on taxes, and they include major maintenance. Major maintenance like on facilities for our fire stations and central maintenance facilities. It also includes parks, major maintenance, such as the Pioneer Plaza project. During the Great Recession, the City Council had a desire to hold taxes down, and one of the methods you utilized was to defer certain major maintenance projects. Some of those major maintenance projects are now in need of repair. We need to proceed with them. In addition to that, we need to find a sustainable revenue source for maintaining our facilities. Snowplowing costs are increasing for a couple of reasons. One is material costs are going up faster than normal inflation. And in addition to that, the growth in our community is causing more street mileage, which are driving costs up. Gas and electric costs for our facilities are increasing. We need to recruit more volunteer firefighters. The budget also provides for the addition of new personnel, one of them being the assistant fire chief, and the addition of what are called duty crews, which are our daytime volunteer firefighters, so that we can be able to provide consistent response when needed. There's also a new police patrol position in the budget, as well as positions in human resources and in the finance department. Health insurance costs for employees are also causing upward pressures. The second major component resulting in the property tax increase is due to street reconstruction. The city has 285 miles of streets, of which more than 30 miles are in failing condition. Those streets are proposed to be replaced over the next 5 to 7 years. To help keep the tax levy down, those street reconstruction projects are being financed with debt, and the city share of cost is being repaid with property taxes over the next 10 to 20 years. Well, what about my taxes? How does the city tax levy affect my taxes? The city adopts a tax levy. This year it's $24.7 million, which is being proposed. And each of us, all of us property owners, will each pay a pro rata share of that property tax levy. For some of us, the property taxes are going down. For some of us, the property taxes are going up. Let's take a moment to consider what are the factors that cause those taxes to go up or down, and how do you determine my property taxes? The basic foundation for the property tax system, determining how much we pay, is based on the market value of the property. However, the actual taxes are based on what's called the taxable market value of the property. So if you look on your proposed tax statement, you're going to see two values, market value and a taxable market value. The taxable market value is influenced for residential properties by a credit called the market value exclusion, which is subtracted from the market value to determine the taxable market value. As our values increase, that credit gets smaller, which is one of the factors contributing to why our taxes go up. For businesses, 60% of the market value is used and is applied for helping determine their share of city taxes. The other 40% of business property values goes into what's called the fiscal disparities pool, which is distributed in the throughout the metro area. The third major component is community growth. As new homes are built, businesses are built and expanded, the increased value from those new homes increases the base, and hence they take a share of that $24.7 million tax levy. Hence, as the community grows, the taxes for the existing residents should theoretically go down. We talked a minute ago about a 4.5% city tax levy increase. However, a portion of that, 3.5%, is paid for by new residents or from the expiration of those tax increment districts. Hence, for existing residents, we are only theoretically picking up only 1% of the net tax levy. Let's move on to the 2015 budget. The overall budget combined is $97 million. 25% of it goes for operations. Operations include such things as providing police protection, public safety services, fire protection, street maintenance, snow removal, parks, and recreation facility maintenance. 30% of the total budget goes for paying down the debt. And the debt isn't necessarily all paid for by taxes. Only a portion of it is paid for by taxes. A significant piece is also paid for by special assessments to benefit property owners, as well as connection charges and fees collected as new development grows within our town. The remaining 45% is for capital improvements, building or maintaining our infrastructure. Significant projects for the coming year include completion of the Highway 5060 roundabout, the 2015 street reconstruction project, building out our water system, which includes towers, wells, and expansion of the water treatment facility. The revenue sources to pay for the $97 million budget, 25% of it comes from property taxes. Another 32% comes from non-tax revenue sources, such as miscellaneous revenues, use of fund balance, fees charged to those who are benefited, and contributions from the liquor operations. The remaining 43% is paid for by debt. We issue debt to pay for especially the capital projects. The debt is repaid over a period of time, either from, like we talked about, either special assessment taxes or user fees. There are a number of projects and initiatives which the City Council deliberated during the budget process, which are not included in the budget because, quite simply, there isn't any money to pay for them at the current time. However, as non-tax revenues become available in the coming year, the City Council will have the discretion to appropriate it to certain priorities. One of the primary places where that could come from, potentially come from, is the 2015 results of general fund operations. If those monies are available, the first priority is to appropriate $85,000 as a down payment to the Land of Amazement. $85,000 won't replace the Land of Amazement. It costs much more than that. But the intent is this would be the city contribution with the hope and understanding that perhaps we would receive community or corporate sponsors to help complete the rest of the project. The second priority would be $100,000 appropriated to the city share of costs for the 2015 street reconstruction projects. The third priorities would be for equipment and park improvements. And the fourth, and any remaining balances, if they're available, would again be for the 2015 city share of street reconstruction. Basically, what I've talked about are very brief, succinct overview of taxes in the budget. We invite our Lakeville residents, if they're interested, to look at the details that are either in the budget, in the tax levy, fee structures, or perhaps other information about how taxes are calculated, and they can be found on the city website. Simply go to city departments and under finance. The 2015 budget serves as a financial and operation guides for the coming year. However, there will be challenges and opportunities. Many of the dominant transportation issues, such as the Dodd Boulevard reconstruction from 185th to 192nd Street and the reconstruction of Highway 50 from 185th down to Dodd, will be completed and undertaken in the next couple years. Construction of the water system, such as the towers, the wells, the water treatment facility, once they're completed, will provide the life-sustaining resources our growing community needs for the next 5 to 10 years. The transportation and utility infrastructure improvements will require a significant amount of debt financing in the near term. The park system plan update is anticipated to be completed in 2015. And that plan will be premised on anticipated demographic and lifestyle changes of our residents. Financing of the park system and the maintenance of those systems will need to be addressed. In 2017 through 18, the comp plans will need to be updated, and those updates will lay the foundation as our community continues to grow. Challenging? Perhaps. An opportunity? Absolutely. Lakeville is a community that is positioned to thrive, and we look forward to its future. We welcome people's comments and questions regarding the proposed tax levy and budget before you tonight. And after all persons have had an opportunity to speak, we would respectfully request the City Council close the public hearing. Final adoption of the budget and tax levy will take place at the regularly scheduled City Council meeting on December 15th. At this time, we would be happy to answer any of your questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 8, public hearing on the proposed modification of redevelopment project area number 1 and the modification of tax increment financing district number 3. And to begin a series of presentations, here's Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
Thank you for reading that, Mayor, so I don't have to. As was discussed at the HRA meeting prior to the council meeting, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Michaela Hewitt with Springstead, who's in attendance and who's prepared the proposed modification to kind of give council a brief overview of why we're doing this and what the proposed modification entails.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I want to provide a brief overview of what's being asked of you tonight. And again, the purpose of the meeting is to take any public comment on the proposed amendment to the tax increment district number 3 as read there, as well as consider the approval of resolution adopting the amendment. Just a little background on the district and the need for the amendment and why we're here tonight. The tax increment district number 3 was established May 4th of 1987, and it was certified November 27th of 1987. Because of the age of the district, it's considered a pre-90 tax increment district in which there is considerable flexibility on the use of the tax increment funds from that district. The decertification date for this district is December 31st, 2014, and at that point, the district can no longer generate increment. The city no longer collects increment. However, it's still able to spend increment from the district subject to, availability and authority. So again, the purpose of the modification tonight is to provide the city with the authority to use the remaining fund balance in the district, which is about $164,000 on eligible projects within the TIF district or the redevelopment project area that was previously established. By decertifying or by increasing the budget, which is the purpose of the modification, that does provide the city with the flexibility to use the remaining fund balance. And I think as Finance Director Dennis Feller said previously, the district is set to decertify this year, which means that capture tax capacity will be available for the city, county, and school beginning in taxes payable 2015. So that's a brief overview of the reason for the modification. I'd be happy to take any questions or step aside for any public comment on it.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 9, Kenwood Hills. And to provide the background information regarding this agenda item is City Planner Daryl Morey.
Given Mr. Hanish's presentation and City Council comments, there isn't much left for me to say. I think we've covered the majority of the proposed development, but I'll just hit a couple of highlights. And again, to echo what was part of the presentation, this is a very tough site to develop, which is probably why it hasn't developed to date. We have had development proposals for this property in the past, including about 13 or 14 years ago was a 4-story, and I forget the number of buildings, 2 or 3, I think Mr. Kennan was here at the time, apartments project consistent with the RH1, current RH1 zoning of the site. So you had taller, obviously more massive building pads, surface parking areas that would have had a greater impact on the site than we are getting with this proposed development. And as Mr. Hanish said, we have been working, staff, the Planning Commission, even going back to a Planning Commission work session late last year, and the development team to refine the plans to bring forth a project that not only works for the developer, but also is respectful of the property and the environment that the site is being developed on. Again, there's a number of planning actions. There's the preliminary plat, which is the 45 detached townhome units, 3 common HOA area lots, 2 outlots on 17.7 acres. The 2 outlots include wetland area and proposed ponding areas, and those will be deeded to the city with the final plat. This is a layout, a little bit of color of the preliminary plat as proposed. The other planning actions include the comp plan amendment, as mentioned, to change the land use designation from high-density residential to low-medium-density residential, and then a rezoning to change the zoning from RH1 to PUD. And in terms of the comp plan amendment, as Mr. Hanish said, this does meet housing policies of the city's comprehensive plan regarding housing product type, life cycle housing, providing different housing styles to meet demand. I know Councilmember LeBeau and I have been talking for 2 or 3 years now about trying to get additional detached townhome product in the city. This is the second one this year, with some in the Cedar Landing development that was approved a few months ago by the City Council. So some of that is starting to come online, which again, consistent with our comp plan. The rezoning, again, to PUD does allow design flexibility. The flexibilities are reduced setbacks, in other words, pull the house pads closer to the street and reduce the grading, wetland, tree impacts. And also the use of the 2 private drives, as Mr. Hanish mentioned. That's typically, private drives are allowed with attached townhome developments, not detached townhome developments, but again, given the lay of the land here and the environmental constraints, we felt that that was appropriate under the PUD rezoning. I did show also on this plan one other constraint, and it's maybe hard to see with the coloring, but outlined in the pink color is a 75-foot wide electric transmission line easement that runs almost through the middle of this project, which creates additional design challenges, as you can have roads that cross through the easement, but you can't have house pads within the easement. So the layout had to take into account that factor as well. That is pretty much the highlights of the site design, the planning actions. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on the planning actions at their November 21st meeting and unanimously recommended approval. There was no public comment, and in a rare instance, there was no Planning Commission questions either, other than comments, much like we have from the City Council complimenting the developer on their patience and working with staff to come up with a very good design. So I think that's a reflection on the hard work between staff and the developer to get the plans that we have before you this evening. The Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Committee also recommended approval of the preliminary plat at their November 20th meeting, and staff is recommending approval of the Kenwood Hills preliminary plat, the resolution approving the comp plan amendment, and the rezoning ordinance rezoning the property from RH1 to PUD, and also adoption of the findings of fact. And I can stand for questions.
Item number 9 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their December 1st, 2014 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.
Ho, ho, ho! Happy holidays, everyone! Santa Claus here!
And I'm Officer Greg Jensen of the Lakeville Police Department. The annual Toys for Tots drive has begun. You can do your part to help the needy families in our community.
If you would like to donate a new unwrapped toy, drop boxes are located at Lakeville City facilities.
Get into the spirit of the season and make a donation to this important cause. Right, Santa?
Right, Greg! Make a donation today to help make Rudolph's Day. Ho, 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 ho!